cases, there's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Guys, we're on a journey, and we're going to keep going because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to understand, and that's what we do over here. And so we've got our flag behind us to remind us of our 50 states, the citizens thereof, to pray for one another. We have our presidential seal. Why do I have this here? To remind us to pray for the president, his family, his cabinet, and their family. And just, there's a lot going on. Y'all know, you've seen the dynamics. And so we come over here and we dissect things through this podcast together. And I appreciate the following, the sharing, your participation in this process. It's just been amazing, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's move forward, because tonight we're going to dissect some things. We want to remember our fellow Americans who are struggling. There were a large percentage, 78% were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. That's gone down, and there's a lot to be walked out. And as we are moving forward, we know we've got an election this year, and it's going to get pretty vicious, because that's how it goes in America when it's time for elections. So as we move forward, the need for unity is dire. It may not happen the way we need it to, so we need to believe for it, and we need to participate and to contribute to our part in making it happen. And that's what I do over here, but we've got to understand what we're dealing with. We've been so lied to by the mainstream media, and we're dealing with people and surrounded with people that we love, that it's like they are so wrapped up in deception and lies because they look at the mainstream media a lot. That has a lot to do with it. And it has other different presentations that are ethnicity drives it, so many things. And so, you know, I give people grace, because some people, the presentations they have, I used to be just like them, and I get it. But, you know, things are subject to change. And so I want us to get understanding. That's why I keep doing this podcast. And it gets downloaded in 12 different countries all over the world, 54 different cities. I am grateful. I thank you. So let's move forward tonight, because tonight we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of discussion in our nation. And it's going to be under the category of put your seatbelt on. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Put your seatbelt on, because it's going to escalate. Now, this is going to lead into our clinical perspective, accountability. Things are going to heat up, guys. They just are, as we get closer to the 2026 election in November, because we actually have people on Capitol Hill who do not want America to be first. And there are dynamics that are going to be brought front and center before the election in November. So put your seatbelt on. We're in a literal battle for the survival of our nation. Now, having said that, does anybody remember Ilhan Omar? Minnesota Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar currently is under federal investigation by the Department of Justice. We're going to hear more about that, because there's a lot going on. Now, predictions, now related to everything that's going on with her. Let's dissect that, because that's going to be a hot one. It's going to be hot, because she's a ramrodder, and she is full of deception and lies, and she is connected with the fraudulent scams and the money laundering fronts that were going on in Minnesota, to the tune of billions upon billions of dollars in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That issue is going to come front and center. Now, put your seatbelt on about all that. So the Department of Justice, the DOJ, they are investigating her. So it's going to come full center for us to see what's going on. Now, and it's all related to her finances. Now, the prediction market related to the dynamics that have been going on with her and her husband is that there may be charges later this year related to federal crimes. And it's all centered around what's going on in Minnesota. And Representative Omar is one of several interesting things that's going to come up, and we need to pay attention to it because they're going to try to divide us. They want to divide and conquer. So President Trump has announced that she's under investigation. We know that. Remember how she had that fiasco that just kind of went away about somebody throwing something on her that, and she refused to go to the hospital and get checked out. I knew the moment it happened, I said, that's staged. That's staged. So we didn't hear anything else about it. She stayed and finished her speech. She didn't want to go get checked out. Why? It was a farce. It was a lie. It was something that was perpetrated on us to gaslight us. In other words, gaslighting means that someone, they challenge your reality. You think, oh, they threw stuff on her. And baby, it was all rigged. Gaslighting. So the House has launched an investigation into Ilhan Omar's $30 million spike in wealth. Yes, $30 million. Reportedly, that sudden wealth increase in just 2 years is not possible based upon what officials are saying. The House Oversight Committee has officially launched an investigation into Ilhan Omar's sudden increase in wealth. Guys, this is going to be front and center, so let's dissect it. This happened during the same time that the $9 billion Somali migrant fraud schemes were at their height. Investigators say there may be possible ties between the taxpayer-funded schemes and Ilhan Omar's increase in wealth. Imagine that. And she just said, they're lying. I have nothing to do with it. Well, we're going to see. All right, now let's look at facts. What matters is facts, not emotionality. They're looking, and they're not going to leave any stone unturned. We need and we deserve to know. It's our money, guys. Our money was stolen from us. And this is why the Democratic Party's in a tailspin, because their gravy train has been stopped. Guys, that's what's going on. Okay, so investigators say there may be possible ties between our tax-funded schemes and her increase in wealth. That's what we're going to find out. It's going to come out this year. So they'll probably do all kind of things to keep us distracted, to say that this is what the real problem was. Well, the committee is questioning how the Somali-born Ilhan Omar, and her husband, Tim Manette, went from a net worth of about $45,000 to $30 million in a year's time. According to Ilhan Omar's own financial disclosures, that is what has been revealed. Guys, that's staggering. Let's keep going. Investigators say there are a series of red flags that surround Manette's businesses, Ilhan's husband, which also skyrocketed in wealth during the same time period as the massive Somali migrant welfare fraud. We're trying to get understanding here. Now, there's a Representative Comer, who has a background in banking, has said that the committee is considering a subpoena for Manette to explain what has been called shady dealings. Now, if it involves our taxpayer dollars, maybe he needs to be questioned. He said, we're going to get answers. Whether it's through the ethics committee or the oversight committee, we're going to get answers. Guys, I can't love this enough. I can't love this enough because they have kept us in the dark for so long. Deceptive, lying people that have been getting over on us like a fat rat. There's a lot of questions. And as to how the questions are related to how did Ilhan Omar's husband accumulate so much wealth over a period of 2 years? It's reported that it is impossible. Through the businesses that he had set up, it's impossible for that to happen. The feds are also reportedly investigating other politicians that are linked to Minnesota's massive welfare fraud. Wow, my. It's all coming out. These are answers to prayers, guys. During the Biden administration, I always said the Obama, Biden, Harris cabal. Guys, they're all in it. They all knew. During let's say from 2020 up to 2024, see, it was already in motion. All this stuff was in motion because all these dynamics about Minnesota went on during the COVID years. Okay, so before President Trump got back in 2024, before that, the FBI was made aware of suspicions involving Manette's companies, Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim Manette, his companies. But nothing was done. The Obama, Biden, Harris cabal, it was brought to their attention. They ignored it. Why? If things have turned out to be connected to billions and billions of dollars, guys, they wanted that man and the governor of Minnesota to be the vice president, my Lord. Oh my goodness, nothing was done. It was brought to their attention. Nothing was done. Why? Why not? Now, under the Trump administration, investigators are on top of what is going on, guys. They are not going to let this go. This is massive, these billions of dollars. Reportedly, there are investigations of all politicians potentially connected to any of what went on in Minnesota. Now, can you read between the lines, guys? This is going to be huge. The investigation comes related to President Trump sending more than 2,000 agents to Minnesota after the $9 billion welfare fraud, a minimum of $9 billion. Oh, yeah. So Trump, this is huge, guys. It's going up to 19 billion estimates. So Trump sent 2,000 agents into Minnesota after the $9 billion at a minimum was exposed. And an investigation revealed that, listen to this, 50% of the Somali immigrants in Minnesota committed immigration fraud. Did you hear me? 50%. But then they want to say, Trump is racist and he's after those brown people because he don't like black people. So lie from the pit of hell. Let's move on. Guys, the immigration fraud in Minnesota and in so many other places, Ohio, so many other places, it's massive. Now, let's examine some specifics here related to Ilhan Omar's 2024. Her 2024 financial disclosure. Rose Lake Capital LLC, which is it was set up as a venture firm company. It was founded by her husband, Tim Manette, in 2022. We're right in the middle of COVID. It was valued at between $1 to $1,000. And in 2023, guys, listen to this. In 2023, it jumped to between 1 million and 25 million in 2024. The firm's initial bank balance was $42.44. Do you see why this is so under the microscope for fraudulent behavior and actions? Then there's this outfit called LLC called escrew LLC, a California winery launched by Manette in 2020. That's when COVID was released on us. And it went from being worth $15,001 up to $50,000 at that time to being worth $1 million up to $5 million. Wow, what a jump. The Omar family's worth went from virtually nothing to $6 million up to $30 million. Investigators say that her net worth is closer to the $30 million mark, guys. Omar denied being a millionaire as recently as 2025. Last year, she said the claim was ridiculous and categorically false. That woman, okay, yeah, that's what she said. Her husband, Tim Manette, is a Democratic political consultant who married her in 2020 after, now this is what's reported, this is public information. Allegedly, they had an affair while she was still married to another man. Okay, so they ended up getting married. So they're together. Rose Lake's website has been scrubbed of all high-profile Democrat names from its pages. I wonder why. The firm isn't registered. Now listen at this. This is where you use basic logic and deductive reasoning, and you come to sound conclusions. And that may at least lead to some questions. And is it okay for us to ask questions? Is it okay for us to ask who, what, when, where, how, and why? Listen to this. His firm isn't registered with the Security and Exchange Commission, the SEC, prompting a former SEC official to flag it as suspicious. Guys, that's just a part of auditing. When you have suspicious behavior, they audit bank accounts, they audit activity, they audited this. And then all of a sudden, a spotlight is put on something. And people, well, why are they asking? Well, what's going on? Well, you get audited. If it's suspicious behavior, particularly related to money, officials have stated that if they're managing billions, they should be registered. This is funny and strange that they weren't even registered with the SEC. Don't you think that's strange? Who, what, when, where, how, why? Why were they not registered with the SEC? And they were handling and managing billions of dollars. Let's keep going. This is going to come front and center, and it should. Now, Ilhan Omar, she denies everything, saying the accusations are baseless and that the investigations are racist, causing confusion and chaos in the Somali community. Okay. Now, because the pressure's on her, wow. She's been snapping at reporters who question her about anything. And what she ends up doing, she's saying that they are out, this is what she said, they're out of their minds, and there must be something wrong with their heads. Wow. She's also skipped hearings on the scandals, including one where Representative Nancy Mace, Republican out of South Carolina, moved to subpoena Omar's immigration records and overall allegations that she married her own brother. President Trump isn't the only one that's saying that. That is a known concern. And why reportedly did she marry her own brother? To get him into the constitutional republic of the United States of America. Ilhan Omar has denied everything. She has been caught up in controversy since she was elected to Congress in 2019 with accusations of anti-Semitism for comments on Israel, campaign finance violations resulting in fines in 2020. In 2019, the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board found that Representative Ilhan Omar, violated campaign finance rules by using campaign funds for personal travel and improper undocumented expenses, resulting in a fine and orders for reimbursement of roughly $3,500. It's a lot going on. This lady, just let the investigation take place. Ilhan Omar has cut ties with her husband's political consulting firm, which raked in about $3 million from her campaign committee during the 2020 election cycle. Guys, we can just about be sure that things are going to heat up with the case related to Ilhan Omar. Why should we be aware? Why? Billions upon billions of our taxpayer dollars is collected and was collected and is connected to the fraudulent scams and money laundering fronts that occurred in Minnesota. That's our money. The massive and sprawling 1 billion, at least $1 billion welfare fraud schemes engulfing and that are gonna escalate in terms of all the spotlight being put on everything. It's gonna cast fresh scrutiny on an old opaque money transfer network used by Somali Americans to send remittances back to their loved ones and friends. A system U.S. officials have warned can be siphoned or taxed by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Now, let's talk about that, because it needs to be bust wide open. It's our money, guys. The gravy train is over. This is why there's been such a vicious, orchestrated lawfare against Donald John Trump. None of this stuff would have come out if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, had won. This money, this scheme, the way they've got it set up, that the Somalians were getting our money, sometimes up to $700 million that was going out in cash from the Minneapolis airport. Guys, do we need to know about this? This scheme that they had set up is known as Hawala. Hawala. It is a centuries-old system which moves money throughout banks, wiring infrastructure or standard documentation, yet it remains a lifeline for families in Somalia where a national banking system barely exists. The system works by having a sender give money to an agent in the United States who then instructs a partner in Somalia to pay the recipient directly, with no money ever physically crossing borders. Hawala functions as an alternative remittance system. relying on trusted agents rather than banks. Wow, interesting. When I learned about this, I said, wow, this is a part of what's going to come forth, guys. It is fast, inexpensive, and reaches remote regions of Somalia where no formal banking system exists. For many Somali Minnesotans, Hawali-linked payouts are the only practical way to support relatives overseas. Guys, this practice has been going on for a long time in our country. They come over here and work and they send money back home. But this is how they've been doing it. U.S. officials are sounding the alarm on the system. Why? Treasury Secretary Besant is really focusing on this, announcing recently that the Treasury Department was opening a formal investigation into whether Minnesota taxpayer dollars doled out in the various schemes were diverted into financial channels that may benefit Al-Shabaab, which imposes taxes, extorts businesses, or controls trade routes. Guys, this is why I talk about national security. A lot of our fellow Americans, they're just clueless. Like, why they doing that? Why they won't leave them brown people alone? Baby, they are crooks. They're crooks that were taking our money. It is what it is. I want them to do well, but they got to be in here legally. And they were getting over on us like a fat rat to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And President Trump has stopped it. No wonder she was so vicious and hateful to Trump all along. The House Oversight Committee has also launched its own inquiry into the fraud and the potential terror finance risk, while Minnesota State Senator Jordan Rasmussen said the concern is very serious. Thank God for representatives on Capitol Hill who are paying attention. Listen, there's more than $1 billion that's been stolen. And a significant portion of those dollars have been directed overseas. That's our reality. There are concerns that this money could be either directly or indirectly funding Al-Shabaab. Do we need to know this? The bottom line is that we deserve to know the truth. It was our money, and all this ties in with our clinical perspective. Accountability, guys. Do you think there needs to be any accountability here? What is accountability? At its heart, it means owning up to what you do, the choices you make, and the results that come from them. It's not just about admitting mistakes, but also about following through on commitments. A truly accountable person doesn't make excuses or shift blame. Instead, they acknowledge both their successes and their failures while seeking ways to learn and to grow. Now, why does accountability even matter? In these things like what we just talked about tonight, and period. It builds trust. When people take responsibility for their own actions, it can foster a culture of trust and reliability among team members. It improves performance. What about that? Accountability. It encourages individuals and teams to stay focused and committed and leading to better overall performance and productivity. Guys, what if we just thought about that as a nation and as teams and homes and workplaces and schools? Guys, we would be off the charts amazing. What about encouraging growth? Do you think that could help us to be better as a nation and flow together, forming a more perfect union, which means flowing together as one? If we encourage growth, might we recognize mistakes and learn from them that can lead to personal and professional development? Accountability turns setbacks into stepping stones. What about improving communication? Accountability, could it possibly contribute to improving communication. Openly owning up to successes and mistakes promotes honest and transparent communication within a system. What about enhancing leadership? Great leaders model accountability. God, I do that. I'll go, hold it, hold it, I missed it right there. No, hold on, I'll say, I need to hold myself accountable. And I talk about it out loud. Some things I need to process privately and I'll come back to my team. But I go there out loud and we just grow. We grow leaps and bounds. Great leaders do that. You model accountability by taking responsibility for decisions and actions, inspiring those around you to do the same. It can be beautiful. So, how can we cultivate accountability? Set clear expectations. What would happen if we set clear expectations, whether for ourselves or our team? We define goals, deadlines, responsibilities, make it all clear. What if we own our mistakes? Guys, that has got me a long way professionally. Just own it. It takes the wind out of the sail of somebody wanting to jack you up. Just own it. And I've even had some situations over the years. I don't have it happen so much now because you just get mature and experience and things don't happen as much. But I said, what do you need to see me do that lets you know that I really take this seriously and that I'm giving it the attention that you feel that it needs. But it takes all the wind out the sail of them wanting to ramrod you. You just take responsibility, write it down, and tackle it. And so what would happen if we have clear expectations, whether for yourself, your team, defining the goals, deadlines, responsibilities, it's all clear. What about owning the mistakes, guys? That's powerful stuff. I've lived it front and center. When things don't go as planned, acknowledge it, assess what went wrong, and create a plan to improve. What about if we seek feedback? Oh, I relish doing that. It encourages open communication and be receptive to constructive criticism. Suppose we followed through. What would happen then? Keeping our commitments and ensuring our words align with our actions. And then it puts us in a position where we can hold others accountable in a professional or personal setting. What that does, I've just lived this out. This is how I operate. It creates an environment where mutual accountability is expected and respected. Oh, yeah. Accountability isn't always easy, but it's essential for success. And Ilhan Omar and all these dynamics that have been going on, there was no accountability. By taking responsibility for our actions, we build trust, we drive results, and a set of standards for those around us. What have we looked at tonight? Put your seatbelt on, because all this that I just talked about, it's going to come out. And our clinical perspectives is accountability. Guys, we've been all over the place. This nation has been ramrodded, and they gaslit us. They gaslit people that say we support President Trump. I want him to do well. And so they don't want us to know about these gravy trains, but it's all out there now. It's exposed. It's been shut down. And so this other government shutdown that's been going on about not funding DHS, that's all about they want illegal immigrants to continue to get in here. They don't want ICE doing their job. Bottom line, that's the end of that. So guys, listen, we're going to keep dissecting these things because we deserve to know. We deserve to know what Ilhan Omar et al., all the others in Minnesota with at least $9 billion. We need to know, how did she go from $45,000 up to $30 million? And then she says, I'm not a millionaire. You see how the gaslighting goes? It makes you question your own reality. That's gaslighting. When you go, oh, well, maybe I got that wrong. No, we didn't get nothing wrong. We didn't get anything wrong. You're a crook. And so, well, let me say this. The investigation will show if she violated the law and indeed did criminal behavior, which makes her a crook. So it's all going to come out. And so we need to pray for this country, pray for each other. Guys, we need to embrace one another. We need to come in harmony. It could be helpful, but as long as we're making excuses for people who've done things like this to we the people, guys, it's a codependent pattern where we don't talk. We don't talk about what's really going on. We don't trust the people that are telling the truth, and we don't talk about what we feel. That is enabling, is sick. It's part of a system where we never get well, but we can do better. So we're going to keep talking about these things. We're going to keep coming back because, yes, we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we continue to go together, you and I, from destruction to dignity. All of that stuff that I laid out, that's destruction. But we want to get to a place of dignity, and accountability can be a tool and a way of thinking and a way of operating that can help us get there. Going from destruction to dignity, clinical perspectives, strategies, skills, tools, a way of thinking that can just help us be better together, individually, together. Spiritual truths. Listen, Satan is the father of lies. The devil is the father of lies, and the truth has never been in him. When this woman stands flat-footed and tells us, I was never a millionaire. I didn't do anything. She's lying or she's going to tell the truth. And all we want is the truth. We're going to keep dissecting these things because we deserve to know. I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information.